Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marie's Scrappy Creations, where we sew the scraps of your life into beautiful creations. And I have a friend who stopped by the sewing room today. Hello, Jean.
Hi, Marie.
I'm so glad that you joined us today. Now, Jean, you may know her from some of the live chats. She loves YouTube and she has a lot of people's channels that she hangs out in the live chat just like we all do. We love it. But she recently started her own YouTube channel. How exciting is that? So I'm going to turn it over to her for a few minutes and let her tell you about her channel, whatever she'd like to share. So welcome, Jean. Let's hear all about it.
Oh, well, thank you, Marie. And thank you, first of all, for inviting me to chat along and sit and chat with you today. That's awesome. I love
You're
doing that.
welcome. I'm glad to have you.
But as Marie said, I am new to doing YouTube. My channel is Jean Brittingham at Captain Stitches. And what my channel mainly encompasses is I just love to share my love and what I do as far as not only quilting, but I love all forms of stitching. So you'll get tips and techniques on things that I do that have to do with quilting, things that have to do with embroidery, cross stitch, crocheting. You never know what kind of stitch I'm going to throw in there. So that's basically what my channel is about. And I have a tip demo Tuesday. I have a week in
I
review
love
on
the tip demo
Sundays.
Tuesday. I'm sorry to
You.
interrupt, but I do. So why
Oh,
don't you
that's
tell
fine.
everyone what I know it's almost self-explanatory, but you can give us an example or two of tip demo Tuesday.
Okay, tip demo Tuesday will always include a tip, and it's never about just a tip. And then I will have a little demo, a demonstration of just showing a certain technique, not going through and making a whole entire thing, but I'm just giving tips and techniques on how to do different things in, types of quilting, maybe just, sewing a binding on. Somebody may have a question on how to do the miters on binding. So I will do a
Sure.
technique, show how I do it for that. Um, Other little things that just pop up and come up in any type of stitching or quilting that you may be. It's just showing a quick little different way or a technique that you may not have thought of or may not have used yourself.
Right. Or
And you
maybe
think,
it's a
oh,
new
well, maybe
person.
that's an easier, yeah, maybe that's an easier way of doing it, or I never saw it done that way before,
Right.
that type of thing. Or you're new to it and you don't know what kind of technique you want to use yet. So you're looking to see what
You're
they all are and
learning.
then choose
That's
what,
right.
what works best for you. So that's basically what Tip Demo Tuesday is.
I
And
love that.
I also will take suggestions on what people want, and I will, jot that down. And it may not be, the next Tip Demo Tuesday,
Sure.
but I will get to it and try to, fulfill, if I can, what somebody is asking about.
Absolutely. Well, I love it because I don't know, just I love to hear, like you say, we all have a different way of doing things. So maybe it's just a different way of doing something. I was filming with Adam from Adam Sews
Yeah.
yesterday. We got together and he showed me, we were starting a technique on a zipper. And I thought, I wonder why he's doing that. So I asked him, why are we doing it this way? And he said, oh, you'll see, or something like that. Well, when it came down to it, it was his trick for how to cover the edges. Like when you've got your zipper, you kind of, if this were the zipper, you come down, it covers all your raw edges inside your little bag. And it worked great, but I have a way to do the same thing. It's just a different way. So it's always interesting and fun to me to learn how someone else does the exact same thing that you do. You know, it's the same result, two ways to go about it, or four ways, or 10.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
And there's always, a lot of people find out, a lot of people call some of the same things by a different
Yes.
name or a different
Yes.
technique. They're
I
not,
agree.
so yep.
Yeah. So how long have you been making the videos? How old is your channel? How new is your channel?
My channel is only, as far as doing Captain Stitches, is only 1 month old.
1 month.
Just a few days over 1 month. I started at February 14th as
Ooh,
doing it.
you'll remember that date.
Yeah.
February 14th.
I had 2 videos on it prior to that, but they were from way back in 2017, and it was never meant to continue doing videos. It was just something that I'd asked, so I threw them in there, but it had never ever been used officially until I started
see.
February 14th. But
Well, I
yeah,
think you're doing a wonderful job, really.
well,
And
thank you.
I'm
I
going to
appreciate
leave her link below, and I will remind you guys of that more than once because she's doing a fabulous job. I'm very proud of you, Jean. Now,
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. You might not even know because I don't remember. We met online somewhere, and I'm going to say it was probably in the chat area because how else would we have met? You know,
Right.
do you remember how we met?
I remember exactly how we met because I was just going through videos and one of your lives popped up, and it was probably, and I don't know if you were doing it on Wednesday then or not, your Wednesday,
Right. Yeah, they
what's
weren't
it,
always
Wednesday chat,
live. Right.
or whether it was, some, but it was in one of your live chats, and it was just like, okay, this looks interesting. And I started watching, and I've been watching ever since because I love everything you do. I love the way that you do it. I love you. I love that they're live, your lives, chatting with others and everything. It's one big happy family.
Well, I'm happy to hear you say that. Thank you, Jean. That's so sweet. But I'm going to tell you what I remember first about you is I had to stifle tears because you told me that you couldn't feel your foot. And I was heartbroken. And that stuck with me. So at first, because I'm terrible with names, what would happen is you would come back into the chat and I'd think, is that the lady with the foot thing? Because I couldn't connect your name with it. But it only took me a couple of times to realize who you were. So I know now.
So by you saying that, I can tell you then that it's been just over 6 months that we've known each other then.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Right. Because that's when it was 6 months when that happened. Yep.
I see. Well, there, see, we'll never forget it now. So, what are you working on today? By the way, everyone, this is not a tutorial. This is actually Jean sitting here in my sewing room with me, or I'm in hers, whichever you want to look at it. But we're just sewing and chatting, just like the name implies. So we're just going to let you know a little bit of what's going on either in our heads or in our sewing rooms. So why don't you show us what you're working on, if you don't mind?
Sure. Well, since I'm known to talk a lot and talk so loud, I thought I'd work on something that's quiet.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm working on some what is known out there in the stitching world as slow stitching.
Okay.
Basically, for those of you that don't know what slow stitching is just a form of embroidery, but it's not using a pattern. It's free form. It's not any plan, which I'll try and back up so you can see more of this. But it's a big. Usually, slow stitching projects aren't this big. The large one, they're more.
You must have like a white or something
distant.
that's not showing up. I can see some of the pastel flowers.
Oh, it's because it's on a white background.
Sure.
It's on a white background.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see. That is beautiful.
Yeah, and then there's also the batting is sticking out here on the sides.
And do I see lace?
You see a little bit of, that is an heirloom doily.
Oh, I love that.
And it actually had a linen on the inside of it, and the linen had tears in it, so it was perfect for cutting out the center to use for the.
Well, there, you still got to use something, even though it wasn't.
Which I do have to say that I did see this on another group that I was in. She posted a picture of it, but not where she saw it from or anything. So there wasn't a pattern, but from the picture that she put up is how I came up with this. With this design, so we will say that. But but most of them are more this size, which of course I pick up the one that's the picture of my husband, an old picture of my husband and I.
Right, that's beautiful. What a great idea. Now, do you have cotton batting behind there?
This
Is
one
that
is
what it
actually, yeah, it's got a batting foundation on the back of it, which this one will actually be put into a book of pages. That
Oh,
the book,
okay.
the book's already made. You just add it to it. The others, there's other ones that you don't actually end up that are made just a little bit different and they're a little bit larger. I've got, oh, that's bright.
That's okay.
We'll back up on that one, but hold
Very
those.
nice.
But these are a little larger and they don't have the batting on the back because it'll be a different, there's different processes for how you want to
Sure.
join them into a book and that. So
Well, I love your project. How ingenious
thank
is
you.
that? I
Thank
love
you.
it.
So what are you working on today?
I'm scraps.
Straps?
Scraps.
Oh,
My
scraps. I
life
thought
is
you said
scraps.
straps. I was going to say, okay.
My life is scraps. I am working on, I'm taking a base of cotton batting and my scraps, and I'm making fabric postcards. Like I have some here that are finished. Now, these aren't all my best ones, but, or I don't mean that. There's nothing wrong with any of them. But like, let's say this, okay? You see these three pieces. My friend Lorraine is blind and she makes quilts. And this is one that I helped her with. And she gave me the scraps, the cutoffs of the edges. So these were already pieced together. So sometimes I take things that were already partially sewn and put them in. And then I don't have very good selection here to show you. This one is one. Then I will, after I've got the fabrics on here, I will take
Are
some
those wine labels?
heat and bond. This
Are
is
those like wine labels?
wine labels, yes. And this down here is the
I saw the
selvage
wine
edge.
glasses. Yeah.
This is the selvage edge, but I take the heat and bond and apply it to the fabric scraps and then stitch, iron and stitch them on. I had some that I sent
I'm
out
going to
the
step
other
out of
day.
view for just a minute because I want to grab.
Sure, absolutely. It's going to take me a moment to get this anyway, so I can show everyone while you're gone.
It's on the other side of the desk and I couldn't reach across.
Oh,
I
I
couldn't reach
see.
across everything.
Okay, so I made a couple of postcards last week. This was one. And see how I use the selvage edge? And then I've got a little bit of lace in the corner. And there was one more. This one was my favorite out of the two, although they were both nice. I like them. I like to play around with scraps. I just do.
We'll cover this up and we'll show.
Sure.
Oh, but my address is on there too. We won't show that side. But I just happen to have one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You
Received
do
from
have
you.
one. I
Which,
remember
yeah,
sending
I guess
you the
there's not
sewing one I made for you.
And it's
also
still in your little thing to protect it, but it
Yes.
sits right there where I see it every day on the
Oh,
other
that's
side
sweet.
on the other side of my desk. So
Someone, or actually more than one person, has asked me, you can mail those? And I'm like, yes, you can. You can absolutely mail them.
now, does your post office, because I've heard some will charge extra to because they can't run it through the machine, they have to hand.
I put a regular stamp, not a postcard stamp, just a regular first class stamp on there. And I've never had any problem. In fact, the ones that went overseas went with an international stamp, just like a regular envelope. I've never had a problem. Although one person got a hold of me a week or so ago and she had not received her gift from our Christmas thing. And I know I sent them all out, but out of all that I sent, she's the only one who didn't get it. It could have gotten lost. There's so many things that could have happened, but
Right.
I have something I have been working on. Do you want to see?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it? I hope it's
You
something
know,
with Tula.
you know it's Tula. And the reason she knows, everyone, is my friend Adam, again, the one we were speaking of a few minutes ago from Adam Sews, and I will leave his link below. He sent from England to the US, he sent me a bag of Tula pink scraps because I love making tote bags, Jean. So I wanted to make a Tula pink scrap bag. And my friend Nanny B is her name. She sent me the first Tula pink fabric I ever owned. She sent to me from Australia. And it was in the first package she sent to me. And I remember showing it to Adam at the time, pictures of what the fabric was. And he said, someone must really like you because that stuff's out of print. You can't get that anymore. Well, I didn't know anything about Tula pink, and I didn't even know if I liked it. Of it. Okay, so this is the first one.
Ooh, I love it.
So
Oh, I
what
love all the turquoise in there too. You know, that's my signature color.
Oh, is it? Well, there you go. This is actually a block that I
Okay.
made, okay, first off. And then I put the crumbs and pieces in an L shape around it. And this is what I would call a Franken bag.
Okay.
Now, side 2 has some pieces from what Nanny B sent me along with it. So there was some of this, which is out of print. And this, if I say Crouching Tiger, it won't be it, but I can't remember. But this is another one that she sent me out of print. And there's another little scrap of the same fabric. Lots of beautiful pieces. And Adam sent me some that I believe are out of print now too, you know. So I can't wait to make this up. The big decision right now, why it looks like this, is I've sandwiched it together, but I can't decide how I want to quilt it. Free motion, straight line, wavy line, serpentine.
Now, here's one of my things that always comes up, and people will look strange because they'll say, just set it down and let it talk to you.
It's been sitting all morning. It hasn't spoken yet, but I'll wait for that. I will.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes a while, just like when we don't know what we want, you know, it's like, okay, I'll let you know in time what I want.
Yeah.
Oh, so when
here's an example, by the way, of how I might start, because this is just something I've cut off from a different project, and a lot of people would throw that away, but that's can be the centerpiece of my next postcard. So, question. Got lots of questions for you today, but we don't get to hang out often, so I have to fit it all in. You showed me what you're working on today, so that's generally what you've been working on. Do you have any? You have something behind you, and I'm really nosy, so you know I'm going to ask about that.
Sure. Well, that's a quilt that's almost done. That's why you can't see much of it, because we're to the end of it. Hopefully it'll come up. But that's a quilt that in my Facebook group that I actually designed for Sew Along for them to work on. So mine is, the top's been done. So now I'm finishing it up on the long arm. So yeah, I do a lot of quilting. I just like to do a lot of things, and I'm a multitasker to where I will probably during my day be working on 5 different things on that day. I schedule a block of time and I'll work on one thing for maybe an hour.
That's smart.
And I put that aside, work on another thing for an hour. One of the other things I can grab quick that's over here, because this actually came out of one of my tip demo Tuesdays, and it was showing on how to make yo-yos.
Oh, those, I love autumny colors and stuff. That's gorgeous.
And then how to use, you know, the yo-yos after you make them. So this is a combination of yo-yos and an applique block and that type of thing. So
right.
Sorry, motioning to my husband not to come in.
We're filming.
But yeah, so I'm always working on multiple things at the same time. And
that's good. You mentioned crocheting. Now, see, I started out with, when I say starting out with yarn, I shouldn't really say I started out crocheting and not knitting, because I learned to knit when I was 7, but I used to crochet a lot. And then I got into knitting socks and mittens. And once I turned a heel on a pair of socks, I was a goner because I loved it. I got into gloves, fingerless gloves, all that stuff. My cord just fell. First, I thought my cat was in here somehow. Um, but I do love to knit. I haven't done it now for probably 2 years because I have to look down a lot to knit and use my hands at the same time. And I have neck issues. And you might say,
Right.
oh, it's what's the difference in sewing? But there is a difference because I
There
don't
is.
have to constantly be looking down like that. So
Yep, big difference.
yeah,
Yep.
there is.
Yep. So
There
you
is.
mentioned, learning and younger. So
Yeah.
we're going to get into this, but it's a good segue. So how long have you been involved in stitching or crafting or, any?
I don't remember ever not doing it. The earliest memory I have of sewing was my mom bought me some sewing cards. I don't know if you remember them, but they would have a picture on them and you had
Yep.
this little plastic needle thing. Well, there was that. And then when I was 7 years old, I'm going to tell my age here, it was the early 70s. And my sister Sue wanted daisies on her jeans because if you got a hole in your jeans in the early 70s, you took embroidery floss
Right.
and you did something. Well, she didn't know how to sew. And so at 7, I was embroidering on jeans. And I love to hand stitch. I have a
Mhm.
hard time with it now because of my issues, but I couldn't tell you anything that I find more relaxing, enjoyable, whatever, than hand stitching a quilt or a quilting
Very,
project.
very therapeutic. I mean, almost everybody that hand stitches says that it is so
Yes.
relaxing. It's their go-to when they want to just,
Yeah, it's a
you know,
happy place to be, isn't it?
yeah,
It
yeah.
truly is. Truly is.
And I mean, I know a lot of people, which would have problems with depression
Hmm.
and take up hand stitching because it is very therapeutic for that.
Yes, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. Um, it's just amazing what crafts can do.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I can
Oh,
give you a
so
laugh
fun.
too. Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't mean to interrupt.
You
Uh,
what?
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're
Uh,
fine.
a friend of mine had made a bracelet for me out of fabric. It was twisted fabric and absolutely gorgeous. And I did something. I don't really know what I did, but what I did was it started to come apart, and I'm sure it's my fault. But either way, I sent it to her because she said she wanted to fix it, but she also wanted to see what happened in case it was something that she should do differently. And we as crafters understand that.
Right.
Well, the funny part is she gets it and then she messages me, and I can't remember how it went exactly, but something along the lines of, what perfume do you use? This bracelet smells really good. I said, I don't wear perfume because I don't. Once in a while, I'll put it on, but I would have to be going out somewhere or, something along those lines. So I joked and told her that's the smell of scraps and creativity. It comes out my pores, I tell you. So I had a subscriber who just purchased a bag from me. I made what I call a Franken bag. It was just kind of scraps of fabric, all quilted. Anyway, she sent me a message and she said, I love the bag. She says, and it smells so good. And I'm thinking, it's in my sewing room. There's nothing in here other than fabric, me, fabric, thread, fabric, an iron. I mean, I don't know what it is,
So
but
maybe we need to ask what kind of soap you use.
I just don't know. But anyway, it's Dove for sensitive skin. So there we go. It's not scented or anything. I just found that so funny because, within a week I had 2 people say something smelled good. So I was like, I don't know. I really don't.
It's
This
your
is my-
awesome personality coming through your fabric.
Oh, well, there. Thank you. I kind of do themed postcards a lot. Some
Mhm.
people just put scraps of fabric, and that's fine. I do it too, but a lot of times I theme them. So like I have this scrap, and this is going to go in my sewing, a
Oh,
sewing
that's cute.
themed one, because I have all sorts of bits and pieces. And yeah. So right now I have a nursing one, bright colors. I'm going to have a sewing one going, but yeah,
Well, you have a lot planned.
I do.
And you know, when you speak of scraps, you know, we all use scraps in a different way because
Oh, we
everything
do.
that is on this piece that I'm doing is scraps. It's leftovers,
Yes.
you know. It's like when I was, you know, pulling for these other ones, the first thing I do is go through my scraps and find, because it's all little pieces put together.
Yes.
So like why cut into a big piece of fabric when
That's
all
right. And I love scraps because they can be anything you want them to be, and they can be totally different than what they were in their first life.
right.
You know, because there's just so much we can do with them. And I've talked a lot about that over time, about how we all think of scraps differently. What might be a scrap to me might be trash to someone else might throw this away. You know,
Right.
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
But this, some people would throw that away. That's a postcard. That is a piece of a postcard to me. Or just like on this bag or bag front, this will be a bag. There's small pieces. I've actually got some very small pieces in here. I don't know which one is it. It was one that came from the Alice in Wonderland collection, and it says "Drink Me" on it. I even took little triangles, which I'm not crazy about triangles, and I put them together because they were all wonky shaped. I used my 45-degree angle to do it. Let me see. Oh, I know. There was this piece right here.
Okay.
That
there's
was
little
1
safety
inch.
pins on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Mhm.
1 inch, and that I didn't waste any. That was as long as it was, and I found other pieces. So I've got two there. So there's 4 pieces right in that little area. Now, just because I want to, I can't find the part that I wanted to show you how tiny it was, of course. Maybe I didn't sew it into that. Maybe it's just in my pieces, because I have some more piece. And I would imagine that I'm going to get 2 to 3 bags. I know I'm going to get 2 out of those scraps, but I think I'll get 3. And each one will be different.
See, speaking of scraps,
Yeah.
because not only in fabric, because see, these are some of the embellishments that I've pulled
Yes.
go. So I
Yes.
mean, those are all scraps too. It's all left over from doing something else. So it's not
I
just
do the
fabric.
same.
It's
Look,
lace
I've got
and
lace.
ribbon and yeah. You know, I mean,
I couldn't have planned it any better.
which this one that I picked up, you can't tell because you're away, but there's a piece of ribbon sewn in on the
Yeah, I
part
can't
that's the
see it, but yeah.
foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I use a lot of those bits and pieces on my postcards because the little laces and the trims and things like that. Yeah, that's
Yep.
amazing that we both have scraps of that.
Yep.
As well as I love scraps of yarn in
Yes.
projects.
Yeah, well, and that's what some of the yarn is in there to use because I have more yarn than anybody should have yarn, but
Oh, me too. And I haven't even done it for a while. I should be ashamed of myself. That's what I should be.
yeah.
Ashamed. Am I? No.
No. No, never be ashamed.
So
Never be ashamed.
have you always sewn? You asked me, have you always sewn or had an interest or what?
Like you, I mean, I can't remember not sewing or stitching of
Mhm.
some kind. And my fondest memories are I would get to go and spend like the weekend with my grandmother or whatever. And she
Oh,
was,
yeah.
I mean, that was the day when you had your hobby clubs and stuff like that. So if I was there and it was on a weekend or a night that she was supposed to be going to her hobby club, she would take me with. So I
Aw.
got to learn whatever they were doing. And then it got to be every time we came over on a Sunday or she would come over, she'd go. And it was always me. I don't know why my other sister wasn't into it at that time like I was, but she would go, Jean, come here, let me show you what I learned. Let me show you this,
Aw.
you know. So I was always learning something new, and what I would learn, I would go, Grandma, let me show you this, you know. So we were always
Oh,
sharing
that's
with
sweet.
each other and showing from a very, very early age. But I also had a neighbor that was like a grandmother to me, and she's actually the one that helped me learn to crochet
Oh, well,
because
there.
I couldn't get it down pat. We were doing it in school, I know, and I wasn't getting it. And I went over to her because she crocheted a lot, and she got me going on it correctly. And I mean, just took off, you know, from there to where I've designed my own crochet patterns and everything, you know, when it goes to that. But but yeah, it's just like you, it's been forever. And I can remember everything that I would learn. I would make something, and my mom always received my firsts. She got the
Oh,
first
that's sweet.
every type of thing that I
Yeah.
learned. I thought, okay, I'll make this for my, you know, you're growing up, you always think about your mom. So it's,
Oh,
for
absolutely.
my mom. So, and that's okay because now that my mom is no longer with us, most of those, because I didn't live in the same town, so some weren't, you know, aware that, okay, that I made that, and they may have ended up going someplace else. But all the ones that my sisters and that knew that, okay, I had made that and had given to
You
my
got
mom,
it back.
I got back. So I have them
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
I know my mom has said that anyone who gave her something will get it back, you know, when the time comes. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you don't have your mom. My mom will be 90 in June.
I know, that's amazing.
Yeah, and she is an amazing person. She really is.
So does your mom sew?
She does. I grew up with, she sewed a lot of our clothes. She sewed like bridesmaids dresses for some of my sister's wedding. The
Mhm.
big thing I remember when I was a kid, and I was impressed even as a kid, is she sewed Barbie clothes for our dolls.
Mhm.
And this was during a time where my friends were getting store-bought Barbie clothes. We didn't
Mhm.
have the money for it, and Mom made them. And I was so impressed because at first I was thinking, yeah, homemade clothes for my Barbie, whoop-de-doo. But when I saw it, it was more amazing than what my friends had. And I look back and I think I can remember the wrist on one of them came out and was puffy, like it fit with the elastic and then the fabric puffed out. She put elastic on a Barbie doll wrist.
Mhm.
How tiny is that, you know? And I can remember the tiny snaps on the back of the clothing and things like that. It's just amazing to me.
Right. I have made some Barbie doll clothes, but not many because it was like, oh no, I'm sorry, this is a little bit too tiny for what I want to
Fiddly,
try and hold
yes.
on. And so, but we're working on showed us what you were working on with the Tula fabrics and that it was a tote bag. Do you
Yeah.
have you put a tutorial out for that
I
bag?
actually, yeah, I did actually. I used strips of fabric. It was done a little bit differently than this. It's the same bag. I actually have two tutorials involving the bag, and I have another one coming up because the last time that, well, not the last time, but one of the last ones I made had a zipper top, and it was a nursing bag. It had nursing fabric, and I used some Lorelei Harris nursing fabric in the center. It was so cute. And one of my subscribers bought it from me, and she had me put the zipper top on. And yeah, I had to go zipper top. All right. But the last one I used a magnetic clasp, and I had a lot of people ask me if I could do a tutorial on how I put the zipper on. So I thought that would be not my next tutorial, but the next time I do that bag tutorial, because I have other things like the welt pocket and different things to show. So I think I'll probably not concentrate on how to make the bag, but let's add this to the bag. And if you want the regular tutorial, you can go back and, and I'll link it or whatever. But thank you for asking that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice way to do it too, because some might like, if you're doing different things to the same bag, some might like parts of it and other parts, and then can decide, okay, yeah, this is how I'll do mine.
Yeah, right. Because you can change the pockets around and you can change all sorts of things around. I'm working on my postcards. I'll bring you a little closer, Jean. Da, da, da.
Cute how you did that. Just roll me in there.
Just roll it across there. You're stitching away. Your stitches aren't making sound.
I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
I was going to say, and I didn't feel a thing.
Well, there. You didn't even feel the breeze in your hair as I moved you along.
Speaking of breezes, you should be here today. We're having 60-mile-an-hour winds out there.
Wow.
So it's like,
we had some snow yesterday, well, the night before into yesterday. And tomorrow we're supposed to get, I think it was 7 to 10 inches or something like that.
oh no, you can keep it.
We can keep it.
You can keep it. I don't want it has been known to snow here in April, but I don't want it to.
Oh yeah, we've had snow. We've had snow in June before, so.
Oh no, that I've never experienced. Not even living in Minnesota. So.
Oh, Minnesota, I heard their winters can be brutal too.
And they've had a really, well, where I'm from, where my sisters still are, I don't live there anymore, but where my sisters still are, they have had a very bad winter this year.
Have they? Oh, that's too bad. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I'm doing my themed postcards here, and it's so hard to, well, not hard, to pick through scraps and figure out which one I like best for whichever postcard coming up or whatever, That's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Have I ever tried the postcards?
Yeah.
Not the postcards yet, but the one thing a lot similar to it is your gripper, jar gripper things.
The what?
They remind me, the jar gripper.
Oh yeah, the jar openers, yeah.
They remind me a lot in the same size and kind of the same, some of the same technique.
Yeah, when I showed the jar openers, I did make some scrappy ones there. I know what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, I made some of those.
You did,
and my friends that I gave them to, oh, I mean, they want more.
Go ahead. That's good. Well, the postcards can be fun. Like I was thinking the other day of making one and sending it to my mom and just using flowery, spring, bright colors, and just sending it and writing on the back, spring is coming soon.
Yeah.
Something like that. People love to get the postcards.
Right. And especially the way you send them in the clear envelope thing. I mean, it's like immediately, it can bring a smile to their face because you see it the minute you get it out of the mail.
Yeah, and I mail them that way with the pretty side out so that the postal workers, everybody along the way gets to see that.
Right.
Yeah. But I also do not write on the postcard itself because I figure whoever I'm gifting it to can either keep it or they could gift it and use it to, you know what I mean? So it's kind of got two uses out of it.
Yep, like pay it forward.
What kind of sewing machine do you have right there, Jean? I'm being nosy.
I have, and I've had it for a while. I got it before they were even on the shelves. I saw it in a magazine. First of all, I'll tell the backstory of that. I saw it in a magazine, and this was when I was new to quilting. And I thought, I want that sewing machine. So I was on a quilt shop hop in Amish country, and the one had one for
Ooh.
demonstration purposes only. And I said, oh, that's the machine I've been wanting. But it wasn't close to where I live. And the women that I were with, they joked, and I said, oh, I want that. And they said, your husband's not going to let you get that. And I said, watch. I called him up
Just
and I said,
watch
hun.
me.
Yeah, I said, watch. I said, hun, we're at the first, shop on the shop hop, and they have the sewing machine I've been wanting. I said, they can order it. And he says, well, if that's what you really want, go ahead and get it.
Aw.
But I have to tell you, I didn't want to get it from that quilt shop because it's too far away from me. So I called up the one closer to me that I knew, and she said, yes, she could order it for me. So I did get it, and ordered it that same day, but it was like, oh, I'd like to get, closer to one for if I have to have it serviced that's in my
Yeah.
local area
You want
instead.
to live
But
here.
anyhow, yes, but so what it is, to get back to that, it's
Yes.
the Janome Memory Craft 6600P, which the P stands for professional, and it's a
Okay.
workhorse. I love it. I love
And
it.
that makes you a professional, right?
No.
Oh, come on. You've got the label to prove it, Jean.
The label. I've got the crown. No.
That's funny.
Oh,
Funny.
yeah.
Well, I have two that I use. One is over there, and I can't film with it because it's the stupidest thing ever. I have an Ethernet cable that I put into the side of this laptop because I wasn't getting a good Wi-Fi signal up here in the sewing room. So during a live stream, I was losing my signal. So we thought we'll just put a dedicated Ethernet cable straight from the modem, the router, whatever it is. And you can tell I know what I'm talking about. We stuck it in there. Well, it won't come out.
Now, most of those have screws in it. Are the
No,
screws?
no, they squeeze. You squeeze it.
Yeah, I know, but most of your Ethernet squeezes and has screws.
No, this one doesn't. It's just
Okay.
squeezes. And I had some people say, go on YouTube, they'll tell you how to do that and this and that. And I've watched the tutorials on how to do it, but I'm afraid of breaking it. It's a brand new laptop.
Right.
So I'm just going to leave it here. But we are going to move the sewing room around because ideally I'd like to have my machines kind of in the middle of the room so I can film from either side. Because right now, this one that I use the most, which is a Singer Quantum Stylus 9960. And to me, it is the best affordable home basic machine, I guess. They run about $500, but they are, to me, a very good machine. Anyway, I have it right in front of a window here. I have the window kind of covered because we're live streaming and the sun coming in.
Windows.
Yeah. But normally that is the curtains and the blinds are open because I get the natural light.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a semi-industrial Brother PQ 1500 that I just got right around Christmas time. And both machines, I am totally in love with them. But boy, that semi-industrial, I've never had one, never sewn on one before that. And it's amazing. It is amazing.
I keep thinking I need one, but then I go, no, I do not need another machine.
Yeah, I have a few. But there's no servicing. I have machines that need servicing. I have a 1954 Sears Kenmore that is a workhorse of a machine, but there's something wrong. We can't figure it out. But
that's too bad.
Yeah. It's funny because on my live stream the other day, I had another Mainer. And because I'm always telling people there's nothing here.
Mainer. I'm going, what's a Mainer? Now I know what you mean. I'm sorry. But that took a minute. Sorry.
Okay. When you live in the state of Maine, if you live in southern Maine, you're pretty much all set. There's stuff there. But I was joking, not joking, but I was laughing about how when you go up the I-95, when you're on the interstate, you reach a sign that says UMFK next left. That's University of Maine at Fort Kent. Well, you've still got to drive like another hour before you get off the interstate. Then you hang left onto Route 1, which is not a highway, and then you're going to drive 2 hours up that way. So these poor college students coming up the road. Oh, UMFK, next left. No. So we were talking about that, and she says, yeah, and like north of Lincoln, there's no other radio stations. I'm like, yep.
No.
You know, there is no Kohl's, there's no Target, there's no there is not. When you leave Bangor, which is, if you looked on a map, just look for Bangor. North
Mhm.
of Bangor, there really isn't anything. We're in the woods. I mean, yeah, there's a Walmart and there's a Walgreens and there's, I don't mean to sound like we're some, like general store type of place, but really there isn't anything
Yeah.
here. There's no juice bars. There's no anything like that. There just
Oh,
isn't.
there isn't in the town that I live in either. Of course, you go to the other, there might
Well,
be,
right,
but
yeah, but you're probably nearby something. For
right,
us,
we're in, an area where you can leave one city and don't realize you're in another one. I mean,
yeah,
pretty soon there's like 4 cities around me that there's not going to be any division
gotcha.
between, so.
Well, here,
Which is not the way I grew up. I grew up in rural Minnesota, so I know what you're talking
so
about.
yeah, because
We
like
had
I tell people,
we had a general store. Okay, now I'm going to age myself, but
yeah,
we
well,
had a
we used to
general
have one
store.
in a town I lived in too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could buy everything from candy to boots because that's what there
Yeah.
was, that store.
Except it was very, very, very limited
Expensive.
on choices that you had. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you were limited to what you could get.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm always telling people from where I live, you have to drive 42 miles, which takes you just about an hour because this is country roads. You have to go south that 42 miles to hit the interstate. And then you drive 2 hours to get to Bangor on the interstate.
Right.
And that's if you want to go to a Joanne Fabric. That's where you got to go. So that's why I don't go to Joanne Fabric. There isn't one near here. And
Right.
you probably heard me crab about ordering online from them, so I won't go there again.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't order online because if I can't see it or I haven't seen it, I'm spoiled from having worked in a quilt shop and having quilt shops around me that
mhm.
it's like, I gotta see it, I gotta feel it.
Well, that's because it's available to you. But if you lived
Right.
where
Well,
I did, you don't have a choice.
It isn't anymore. The ones around me basically closed, during the
Yeah.
pandemic, but
Yeah. Because I do have Mardens, which I'm lucky and I'm very thankful that we have Mardens, but they're not like, you can't go in and have like a certain fabric line. It's not a quilt shop. It is
right.
a surplus and salvage store. So tools are the next thing over from the fabric section.
Mhm.
But what they have one time, they don't have the next time because they're buying surplus and salvage. So
Right.
yeah, you just have to go with what it is,
But that's very similar when you buy fabric in a quilt shop. See, they can't get it. I mean, once it's gone, what they have purchased, it's gone.
Mhm.
So if you don't buy enough for your project, or
You're
a little
done.
extra in case you make a mistake and think you can go back and get more, there may not be more when
Right,
you go
yeah.
back. You may have to do a search. Another quilt shop may have some, but it's not fabric that is remade.
Gotcha.
It's like it's sold and that's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the Marden saying is I should have bought it when I saw it at Marden's because
Yep.
when it's gone, Because I did that with that Harry Potter fabric I found, and I bought a little bit of each. I'll show you what I mean. They had some fabric when I went in. They had Star Wars. They had all kinds of different things, but $2.49 for a 1 yard cut. Okay, great deal.
Yep.
So they had, for Harry Potter, they had this one,
Okay.
this one, than this one. Now, I'm not into
Okay.
Harry Potter. I've never read the book, seen the movie, never had any of it, but I know it's popular.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed one of each. 3 days later, I thought, I probably should have grabbed more of those. So we went over. They're completely wiped out. Gone.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how it goes. Exactly. So that's
So I'm one that has, like an 18-foot wall of fabric, that's just the fabric that doesn't have any particular, nothing in mind for what it's to be used for. It was just
wow.
purchased because I liked it. Okay. But I have to tell you, I started out when I was a new quilter buying fat quarters. And then I realized, oh, well, it's not enough for some of the, patterns, whatever that you want to make. So then I started buying half yards. Well, then it was like, okay, half yards aren't enough. So then I started buying yards whenever I would buy anything. Well, then it got to where, okay, if I'm not sure whether it's going to be a border or whether it's going to be a background and I like it, then it has to be 3 yards. So it's like, and also because I did work at a quilt shop for a while, there are a couple certain fabrics that I really used a lot.
Sure.
That because of the discount, I ended up having them order a whole bolt for me.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, the only thing I've ever
they're
bought a
backwards,
bolt of would be like my batting, my fusible.
well, now because I have a long arm, I buy my batting by the roll. But so
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I started my channel, it was Scrappy Creations because almost everything I have is basically a scrap because I never purchased anything more than like a yard. Unless I was backing a quilt, I didn't buy it. I just didn't. So it is what it is, as the saying goes.
Well, I wish I had been that way. That's like my sister quilted too, but she would only buy for one project at a time and exactly what it called for that project.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, oh, if only I would have, if only I could have done that and only worked on one project at a time until it's done. But
Yeah.
So both my sisters, when I talk about a stash and they see it, they go, stash. And especially now that I have the cottage in the backyard, they go, well, this looks like a store. It's like, well.
Yeah. And I meant to ask you, now you've got a nice sewing room there. Tell me about your sewing room.
Well, my sewing room started out, first of all, like most, one little corner in a bedroom, or
Yes.
I wouldn't say dining room table because we never had a dining room. We only had a table in the kitchen. But yeah, so it was, just a little corner in the bedroom. And then it went to our garage in the home that we have was not a garage when we bought the house. It was made into a room. So I got to move into that. Well, I was kind of growing out of that area. So it was my husband's idea to have a cottage, a building built in our backyard.
Oh, wow.
Move all my sewing and everything into, he was probably tired of me overtaking the house and everything too. So
Lucky
it was
lady.
actually, pardon?
I said, lucky lady.
Yeah.
Cottage.
But so it was actually all planned out. I mean, the floor plan and everything I had all planned out where everything that I had existing and knew that I wanted would fit and in what, dimensions I needed and everything. And then we're lucky to live. It's about 2.5, 3 hours from Amish country from where we live. So we went to where we could order it and have the Amish come and build it on site. So it was built by the Amish in one day. You would not believe this. To watch the Amish work is just.
Oh, they live nearby. I know. I've seen them do a barn.
I mean, but they came and all that was down was the
Like
foundation. They came and there was only three of them in one day from nothing. They had the whole inside built, the siding on, the roofing on, all the windows.
It's amazing to watch.
And worked through a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
It was like unbelievable. And their work is just.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. But so that's how it became. And then we had hired a handyman to do the finish work inside and yeah, the funny story of that is so I got to plan everything, how I wanted. Of course, not quite as big as I wanted because the city had a little bit to say on that, but
Oh, yeah.
you know how that is. But so I remember the fun thing to remember it about is the colors that I wanted in here because I wanted it to be, you know, my happy
Sure.
place.
Yeah.
And I like color. I like everything else. I mean, all my stuff that's in here, as far as my cabinets and stuff, are white, but I have two walls that are turquoise, one wall that is yellow, and one wall that is pink.
Turquoise,
And
yellow,
when
and
I
pink.
was, yeah, and when I was telling him, when he asked, you know, the colors for painting, and I told him that, and he said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, well," he says, "That's going to be fun."
Yep, that's what I plan.
But yeah, so that's I'm very blessed, very fortunate, you know, to have what I have, and I know it, and I'm grateful, and that it was actually my husband, you know, that suggested it. He's very
Yes.
supportive of what
Yeah.
I do, so that's awesome.
Yes, it
Little
is.
little did we know at the time that we built it, which it's going on 8 years now that I've had this.
I
So
was just about to ask, but you
yeah,
answered it.
but didn't realize that I would be spending 12 to 13-hour days out here, but that's basically what it
Well,
is
I
now.
suppose it's not like when, like I always tell people, I always did at the beginning of my channel, you know, it doesn't matter. We all start somewhere. I remember having to wait until the kids were done their homework and clearing supper and getting all that over and done with, so I'd get my sewing machine out on the table. Not all of us have that dedicated space, but it doesn't mean you can't
Right.
sew.
No.
And, you know, that's just how it is.
I mean, I love to see, you know, when you talk about having a small space, you know, people that have, you know, gotten just the little like vintage style campers and have
Yes.
their, you know, like their Singer featherweight, you know, or whatever, and still have their little sewing niche, you know, set up.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
truck drivers,
It's
I mean,
amazing.
male and female, that are quilters that
Yeah.
have a little place, you know, in that back bed of their truck. Not, I mean, not the bed of the
No, I
truck
know
drivers,
what you
truck
mean.
drivers,
I
not
know.
truck, but
Yeah.
have a little area, you know, set up so they can do their quilting in their downtime. I think that's awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, you don't have to have a big space. You just have
That's
to,
right. You just
you
have to
know,
want to do it and have a little area, and yeah,
yep.
I agree. Well, this has been fun, Jean. I hate to end it, but you know, I don't know how much longer most people would hang in here. We could talk all day. I get that.
Right. And that little wave has been my husband at the window of the door. He's come back twice and it's like, no, no, no,
Oh,
no,
I
no.
didn't even notice. Must have been busy. I've got the sewing to do. I'm really just wondering how I'm going to quilt these. That's what I keep thinking of, how I want to quilt it.
You'll have fun deciding. When you do, it'll be that aha light bulb moment.
It might be. It might just be I get tired of trying to figure it out and just yeah, give up and just do it. But anyway, thank you so much for coming to visit. And remember, everyone, I'm going to put her link in the description box below the video so you can check out Jean at Kept in Stitches, and she will keep you in stitches one way or the other. Thank you so much, Jean. It's been great having you here.
Well, thank you so much, Marie. Thank
Yeah,
you for opening the door to your sewing room for me. So
it's full of just glitter and scraps. It's a magical place. It's a second bedroom. It's not a cottage, but it works, right?
it
Whatever
does.
works. Okay,
Okay.
thank you so much, Jean.
Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.